Well, first thing first, Ásgeir, very nice to see you again. How have you been?
Yeah, good to see you too. I've been doing really good. Yeah, just working on this and that here in the studio. At the moment, I'm working with an Icelandic singer. Her name is Árni, and she's recording a new album here, and we're just tracking that at the moment.
So very busy. One thing I find interesting over the past years, and I'm sure the pandemic has played a role in this, but what does that studio where you are mean to you? That the fact that you can just work on music without anybody bothering you?
Yeah, it means a lot. It's a major factor in like the music I've made through the years, and it has affected like how I work, definitely. Being able to have like a studio all the time. I'm actually just thinking about it now since you asked that it's probably had a really like big difference on just what kind of music I'm making, because I guess if I wouldn't have like a studio, I would probably just write like or I would write more like rough uh, demos of
Mm.
stuff, and then just like book a studio for like a week or two, and record everything then, and that's a totally different like a workflow kind of thing than I have here, where I can kind of spend months on stuff, and it kind of, it has its positives and negatives sometimes, but I love this place. But it's also good to sometimes, I feel like it's good to go out of this environment. Like you said, I've been working here for about 10 years, and it's good to, yeah, just be in a different environment, or at least try and surround yourself with some new people, just to kind of try and keep things fresh, because I do find
Mm.
it sometimes when I come here, every day, I'm kind of, this is kind of, I get it, it's a luxury to have it, but I sometimes am like tired of the same kind of thing over and over, so just recently we started, booking studios a little bit more,
Okay.
outside of here, um, and I think that's been great, so I'll probably be doing that, just jumping back and forth,
Yeah, because I can imagine, and this is, I think, a nice bridge to the lo-fi versions of Time on My Hands. But when you're in the studio, there's the options are limitless. You can stay in there as long as you want and turn every button and whatever, and you can do whatever you want. So was it important for you to kind of, yeah, like you said, kind of step out of that for a little bit and just focus on connecting with the songs and less from perhaps an analytical or production standpoint?
Yeah, definitely. I think I should do. I think that was really good. Just to kind of see if the songs could like stand just on their own without all the production and all the small kind of details,
Mhm.
um, and and just to spend like one day doing a few songs. Um, yeah, I think it was pretty good for me, and um, I think just in general, I have to kind of remind myself of doing that more,
Mm.
because you can, if you have like an interest in just recording stuff and just being in the studio playing instruments, just trying things out and experimenting, like you said, it's like a, kind of like this endless kind of thing, and and sometimes I think it's good to kind of step out of that and just maybe just have your guitar somewhere and just focus on just the songs, and just record demos of it. And then when you're going to record it, get some people to come and just do it in like a day or something, and try to get like close to a final result with that, instead of having this endless kind of thing in front of you. So I'm trying to do more of that now. But yeah, that was definitely like a like why we did this lo-fi versions. It was also because we got this cassette recorder kind of thing. We bought that and started to experiment with that, and then just kind of the idea sort of came out of that. And yeah, that's about it.
That's interesting because you mentioned that recorder, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a 4-track, right? A 4-track recorder.
Yeah.
So did you limit yourself to the only those 4 tracks, or did you add some stuff afterwards?
No, we did with some songs, yeah.
Okay.
But some of them we actually just recorded into the computer, like into Pro Tools, and then we um it, like recorded that into the cassette and then back, so
Okay.
just to get kind of the flavor, you know. So yeah, we did cheat a bit, but but we tried to do as little of it as we kind of could.
No, because what I find interesting is, well, maybe I'm jumping ahead. So maybe a good question to ask first is, how big of a time was there between creating the original versions and then the lo-fi version? Was that a big gap, or was it kind of very quickly after?
Um, it was a few weeks. It was pretty like shortly after, um, if I recall correctly. I think it was pretty quickly after.
Because
Yeah,
well, sorry to interrupt, but the reason why I ask is it kind of had songs started to change for you already, or the way you heard them, and kind of I'm sure when you have a finished production, then maybe a couple of months later you think, oh, I should have done this differently, or maybe I
yeah,
should have gone this way.
yeah. No, that always happens. Especially if you spend so much time on something, then there are so many details that kind of went into it, and there are so many things that you can doubt,
Right.
instead of when you work just like, well, you're always trying to work like instinct, with your instincts. But I guess if you just spend like I was talking about, like 1 or 2 days and just use your instincts, I feel like it's a bit more difficult to doubt everything, because you kind of trust your
Mm.
first kind of feeling of yeah. But when you take it over a few weeks and you start working on, like, there are so many doubts that can start to come to your mind. But yeah, I think the songs had started changing a little bit also because I was starting to play them a bit live, I
Mm.
think, and I was making these solo kind of versions of them because I was doing some promo tours or stuff like that, so where I just took my guitar, so I
Right.
had to kind of make some different versions of the songs, and then I could sort of, I think, see other potential kind of directions to take the songs.
Yeah, well, one thing I always like about kind of those stripped down versions of songs is the voice is kind of pushed forward, where there's not a lot
Yeah,
distracting you, so you can really hear your voice, and you can really hear the lyrics. Is there anything
yeah.
in terms of recording that you did? Did you do something special with your vocals, or did you kind of try to convey the emotions differently, or is it pretty much the same as recording vocals for any other album?
Um, it is pretty much the same kind of
Okay.
feeling, I guess. But I think I did some of them live, with playing guitar at the same time or something like that, which I rarely do or I think I've just never done on like
Okay.
an LP. It's always like things are recorded separately. So that was different. I think I did some songs, where I played piano and sang at the same time, and that's always kind of a different kind of feeling that goes into that. I think, I usually feel more comfortable when I think about it, singing when I'm at the instrument, because I feel like an idiot when I'm on stage and I'm just standing just with a microphone. That's very kind of unnatural. I always want to have something in my hands, although if I'm not playing it, or that doesn't really matter. It's just a feeling of kind of having something there. I don't know.
It's also maybe because I've heard this before. It's also kind of like a protection in a way. I've heard it be described as that you can kind of, well, this is what I am. I'm a musician, so people kind of immediately have this.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not like this huge kind of singer. I'm just playing an instrument and yeah, exactly.
But which song then? I don't know, maybe they've changed already again, but which song for you was the biggest change in terms of kind of how you wanted to approach it?
Oh man, I don't remember that much. I think like Snowblind was one that I was kind of happy with, like that. I was happy with the results. It was very different from obviously the very produced version on the album, and I was happy to hear that it could work pretty well on just like a guitar and with like a really small kind of beat behind it.
Sure.
And then I started a few times, I think, wondering like, oh, we should have done it like this way, just on the album instead of the other thing, But yeah, like the one that comes to mind is Snowblind, but I haven't really listened to it that much since we made it, so I don't remember.
No, but what I found interesting, for instance, is usually when people make stripped down albums, it's kind of okay. It's just going to be guitar, just going to be piano, nothing else, and even though you did that to an extent, I think if you listen to a song like Giantess, and there's still electronic elements in there, and there's still those certain textures, but it's just done in a different way, much more intimate, I suppose. So how do you incorporate kind of modern technology? And we kind of alluded to it in the beginning of this interview, but kind of incorporating these modern technologies, but also kind of remaining of keeping that natural feel.
Yeah, I think these electronic elements, like these vintage synthesizers and stuff that we're usually using, they can have a very kind of natural feel, as well as being kind of associated with like some like EDM music or something like computer made, but they can be very kind of alive and just like an acoustic guitar or something like that. They can have their own kind of character, and so I don't really associate, or I don't really think of the two as being something totally kind of from different worlds, really.
Okay.
Not if you're working with a specific kind of mindset, and you're looking for certain sounds, and like using like old synthesizers that kind of have their kind of own sound, just like I said, like an acoustic guitar or a piano. You can kind of you choose this synthesizer because it has its kind of own vibe. You're not just like going through like presets all day. You're just kind of just using it as any other instrument. So I don't think of the two as being something totally different. So I find it quite easy to kind of have some like soft synthesizers with acoustic guitars. I always find it really fun to play around with, So I obviously couldn't help myself on this lo-fi version. But
No, I think because I remember years ago you did a live session. I can't remember for which platform it was, but you did Loop in Intrigue, I think, in a kind of stripped down version, but still with piano and then the kind of the touchpad and stuff. And that sounded so cool, where it was still electronic but very intimate, which is, I think, very difficult to do.
Yeah, I don't remember that specific session. Yeah.
No, there's just a memory that just came to me. But when it comes to songwriting in general, then, because I imagine you just start at, as you mentioned in the beginning as well, especially for this, when you start to write outside of the studio and you kind of create these initial demos, is it important that they function without all the extras in a sense? I'm asking it really in a strange way, so I'm gonna ask it again. So
okay.
When you, in terms of songwriting, when you write, what makes a good song to you? Is it important that they can kind of function on themselves without too much extra?
Yeah, it is definitely. And like I was talking about in the beginning, I kind of have to remind myself of that, I think. Because I can get so quickly into production mode, because I'm writing something here in the studio and I just kind of start recording it kind of prematurely, I just have like some chord structure kind of thing going on, and then I start kind of building on that, and then it kind of starts to become about the production instead of or some at times, it starts to become about the production instead of the kind of the whole song. And if I'm more kind of focused on just writing at home or something on the guitar and the whole song instead of just like a small section of the song, I usually find that to be more kind of songs that I'm more proud of, although the other kind of the production element and working here in the studio is a lot of fun, and that's why I just sometimes I can't help myself, it's just so much fun. But like the end results and how well they sort of age, usually it's the songs where the focus is on the song instead of the kind of the production, or although both of them obviously have to kind of go together, but yeah, I feel like I sometimes make the mistake of kind of being too quick to go into production mode, but I think that's a very kind of I think that's a very common problem, or if it's a problem, but for just musicians in general that have access to a lot of stuff and gear and recording equipment, because we all, I think, share this kind of a love of just recording stuff, so we just want to go and record something and make something, and sometimes we just make something that's not really good, but we want to record it, and then we spend like some days working on it, maybe just with some trying to make it good, with some production stuff, but
that's so interesting. Because do you, for instance, on your computer, is there like do you have a hard drive full of kind of half-written songs or songs that you kind of try to figure out? And
oh yeah, so much, like just like probably thousands. Yeah.
Okay. So what makes it through then? When, and this is going to be, I suppose, different for every song, but when do you go like, okay, this is good enough for me to put on a record, or this is good enough, then now I'm happy? Or do you need somebody else to help you with that? Like your, I know you work with your father a little bit and your brother, and
Yeah. It's a good question. I don't know. I guess it depends. I've always worked kind of closely with this producer here. His name is Kitty. So we're kind of mostly working on, or I write the songs, and then we usually have recorded them together, or at least worked on them somehow together here in the studio. Although through the years I've started to do more just on my own here. But so I do I do always play him the songs, and we sort of discuss them, and sometimes we just pick out ideas to work on, but also it can depend on just if the lyrics come together or not, because that can take a lot of time, if they kind of come together and work with the song, or it's I guess it's sort of, because all these thousands ideas I was talking about, sometimes they are just like these small kind of chapters. They're not like full songs, So I guess like the actual like full songs that I make, they are not like in the thousands, So it doesn't become too difficult to kind of pick out the songs. It's just the songs that are get finished. Yeah.
But final question. I don't know. I don't think are you still in Asia? No, right?
No, I'm here just in Reykjavik in Iceland.
Because what I always find fascinating, I mean, it is kind of a given, but the fact that somebody from Iceland, and I believe initially there's a lot of those songs are in Icelandic, and then you try to translate them in English, and then you go halfway across the world to an Asian country like Japan or something, and then they can find something in the music. What does that tell you about what you do?
Yeah, I've become kind of more I don't know, grateful, I guess, for that, for that people like you said in Japan or whatever are connecting to the music. It's not a given thing, So I've become kind of more grateful when we went over there now, because we've been there. It was our 7th time actually in Japan. No, we played there a lot, and in the beginning, like the first few years, we were just touring so much, and there was so much stuff going on, and also I was so young that I couldn't get my head around like everything. So I guess what it also just tells you that like music doesn't have like a language, doesn't really, like, you can feel music even though you don't understand the lyrics or the language, because I find like in Japan people are listening to the Icelandic versions a lot as well, and I think and I started to think more recently that maybe just people are more open to, maybe they're just becoming more open, or maybe they've always been that way, but just other languages, and it doesn't play as big of a role as I thought it did, and because I was told in the beginning that I have to do it kind of in English so people could understand it, and And I think it feels like it's changing a bit now. I don't know why.
No, I agree. I think as well that language is less important. I don't know, like you say, I don't know if it's just now or that it's always been that way, but it feels like you can sing in any language, and as long as the emotion is pure, people can feel it. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so one last question then, because well, you mentioned you have thousands of ideas. Not all of them will turn into songs, but have you already thought about a new album then, or is that too soon?
Oh no, I'm working on a new album now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we haven't been touring like that much. We've like you said, we were talking about, we went to Japan and Korea. We did some tour in Australia and Europe in the summer. Now we have like 2 or 3 months just here at home, and I'm doing some shows here. One with a symphony orchestra here in November, and then we go on a tour in Europe in end or middle of November, and then this album run is kind of done pretty much.
Sure.
So I've been just having some time to work on new material and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Ásgeir, may I thank you
Thanks,
so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Good to see you.